What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Champion Living Podcast, the only podcast crossing the lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, we have, a good buddy of ours on, a special guest, Joe Frost, five-time NFR bull riding qualifier. Has a hell of a story that we're going to hear today, and had a career-ending injury, but since then has been really focusing on making an impact on the next generation of rodeo athletes through their Frost Legacy bull riding schools, which we're going to dive deep into today. We're diving in right now. Lots of rodeo gear companies are coming out, but not all are equal. Beastmaster is really setting the bar when it comes to the equipment that is built for durability and designed for success in the arena. You guys can check them out at beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving24. That's ChampionLiving24. Going to save you a little bit at checkout. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Man, we're doing good. We are doing good. Paul, Logan, you hanging in there?
Oh, yeah. One day at a time. I've been looking forward to as soon as Paul told us that we were going to have Joe on, I was like, man, I am so excited to hear all the things. I know we're going to get into his story first, but I'm really intrigued about this online academy. I feel like the sport of rodeo has needed that for around about 20 years. And I'm just so pumped that I know we've all talked about like what that would look like and how do we do that. And the next thing you know, Joe and Josh just rolling it out. I love it. I think it's awesome.
It is going to be awesome. Joe, let's hear about you, man. You're Utah native, been around bull riding rodeo your whole life. Give us kind of the scoop.
My family's been here in Randolette since the 1970s. Lane's parents, Clyde and Elsie, and then my granddad, and my grandpa and grandma moved here, and in fact their two other brothers, BT and Jim, lived here too. And so those was kind of the original Frost brothers. Uncle Clyde, of course, and my grandpa rodeoed quite a bit. Uncle Clyde made the finals 5 times in the saddle bronc and bareback riding. And then my dad here at ranching here, and we still live on the same place that my dad grew up on. And like for us, and then obviously having Lane, like Josh and I and Jay, we really didn't I don't ever remember thinking that like when you grew up you did anything but be a bull rider or a cowboy, that's and I never we really liked school and were interested in other things, but they were all just those are I don't know, accessories. Like bull riding was what you actually grow up to be if you're gonna be anything. That was just kind of that's the picture I have in my mind from when I was a kid. And I just kind of to hit on the fitness side of things. My dad, you guys know, there's no fat rough stock riders that have ever been very successful. And I'm not naturally, maybe I'm natural, I was strong for my size a lot, but I was also a chubby kid. And I can remember my dad, we work all day, every day, 12 to 15-hour days most of the time, even growing up. And so we didn't really, we didn't go to the gym, but my dad had dropped me off a quarter mile from where we needed to move the next sprinkler and tell me, get running. If you want to be a bull rider, you're going to have to get in shape. And he had us do push-ups. And then as we got into junior high and we were wrestling and stuff, to gain an edge, we started bench pressing and nothing real scientific, but doing stuff to build our strength up, because in anything you do physically, you've got to be strong, and so and then with wrestling and everything too, we've always had a pretty good understanding of knowing we needed to be strong to execute the things we were trying to do. And we started riding calves. We built a little arena. We had one side of the fence was a barbed wire fence and the rest was wire panels, and they had welded us up a little chute that was big enough to put rope and steers in. But we started out on Holstein calves, and we just got on and got on and got on, and then eventually we added a rope and chute, and we actually competed. You guys know, Josh has won the Linderman Award 4 times. I won it once, but we competed in all the events except for we Josh didn't go very far with his bareback riding, and I didn't go far enough to know that. Like, I rode in high school and college, and then we attempted the bronc riding a little bit. But all the other events, we did a lot. We competed all through college, roping calves and steer wrestling, and riding bulls, obviously. And that alone, like, I think gave us an advantage as far as physically, in the bull riding, because when we weren't getting on bulls, we were throwing down, shoot dogging steers, bulldogging them off a horse, tying calves. I can remember getting up in the morning at 4:30 before school when I was in high school to go out and tie calves, because I didn't have enough time in the afternoon. We were roping off the horse, and then we had work to do too. So I'd go out and tie calves in the morning before school. And like, that alone is a pretty good workout. Like, if you haven't tied calves or throwed steers down, like, it is very physically demanding. And as I'm doing these private trainings and stuff, like yesterday, I had a kid he's an all around hand. I mean, he competes in every single event in the junior high rodeos. He's an 8th grader, and compared to, he's winning the bull riding by a long ways, but he is so much more physically developed than most of the kids his age, and he doesn't go to the gym or work out, but he's been on a horse probably since he could walk, and he's exercising these horses every day. He's roping calves, he's team roping, he's goat tying, tie down roping, like, you name it. He's doing stuff physically, and really has had very little bull riding instruction until yesterday, but he's extremely advanced because he's physically strong and he has a good feel for animals. But anyway, I'm getting a little off topic.
Well, hang on, Joe, because I want you to stay on that.
Good thing. That's a good point.
Yeah, I want you to stay on that for a second, because I think the three of us, Doug and Logan and I think we started rodeoing because we wanted to be cowboys. So like, we didn't come from a cowboy lifestyle as a background. But we see a lot of guys succeed that are working cowboys. And so what role do you think that played in your career, or in anybody's in general? Like, what's the benefit of just being a cowboy working on a ranch, and how does that carry over into success in the arena? Does it?
I think it does, and I think there's several reasons. Like, if you look back at the history of rodeo, like, there was very few guys in the beginning that did not grow up in the Western culture, some sort of a farm or ranch, because that was how you got introduced to it. You'd ridden horses, and then you seen the rodeo, like, well, I bet I could ride that bull. And so they'd try it, and because they had ridden horses all their life, like, riding, and I talk about it all the time at our schools, like, your riding needs to be an instinct, like a sixth sense that you develop.
Yep.
And like, we developed that before we ever even had got on calves. Like, all we had to do was get over the little bit of a fear factor, but our body knew how to ride, and on top of all of that, like, the hard work, like, we were physically strong just because of the fact that we were lifting hay bales and pipe and whatever else. Like, we were physically capable of more than, so say, for example, like, every year, all summer, we would buck calves almost every night. And we had a lot of friends that, oh, we want to come try that, and we had friends that rode motorcycles and played football or baseball, or maybe they did nothing. And then we also had friends that were team ropers or calf ropers or ranch kids. And the kids that had ridden horses on a regular basis could come get on our best bucking steer and ride it effortlessly. Like, I remember the one kid could talk to you and laugh while he was riding a bucking dude. And the kids that come down that had not ever ridden horses or anything, like, it was so foreign. It would have been like trying to teach me something in Spanish. You know, like they didn't even, their body couldn't even assume a position of control. And they were also not physically strong. And the ones that were physically strong didn't know how to use the right muscles. So I think it, and you look back in the day, like back in the 70s and 80s, you could have took any of those guys at the top 15 at the NFR for the most part, and they probably could have went and helped you sort pairs. Today, you know, and this is nothing against them guys, but like there's probably half of the guys, at least half of them at the NFR that have either not been on a horse or have minimally been on a horse. You wouldn't want to take them out to help you sort pairs or something because they just wouldn't understand it. You know, they would be completely out of their element. Like, in fact, Aaron Pass.
Aaron Pass.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this was true. This was kind of the rumor, but they said he went and took horse riding lessons so he could ride in the Grand Entry, and then they actually pulled him from the Grand Entry because they wouldn't let him do it. And he was excited to do it, but they were afraid he was going to screw it up, you know.
And then he ended up winning around and had to take a victory lap.
Yeah,
dude, I was gonna say I'd be willing to say that's some of people's biggest fear is the victory lap.
Yeah.
He's ranked bull rider. But I know lots of bareback riders that can spur a bucking horse, and they are mortified that they might have to take a victory lap on a broke horse. They're like, nope. You know, and I've seen tons of guys come off in the middle of that victory lap before, and it's like, damn, you just rode a bucking dude for 90 points, and you can't even stay on a horse loping across the arena. Like, this is wild.
And I will say, it's not like they go get a bunch of really handy broke horses.
Yeah, no,
and I found that out the hard way the first year I got there, and I had this really sorry horse, and I mean this thing wanted to buck and run off, and I'd go get on him and go back there and tune on him a little bit and let him know what was going on, and we got along good. Well, I made the mistake of doing that. Because then the next year I get back there and I got lucky. I got a good horse. Well, by the time we got halfway through the rehearsal, they were like, oh yeah, go get Joe and put him on this horse and switch him out. So I pretty well always had a plug. The thing that I was always scared of was when we left the arena, he was going to run me off on a post or something. But no, I think it the advantage it gives you is you basically, you don't have to create the instincts of just riding an animal. It becomes like a sixth sense is what I would call it.
There's a lot of things you have to learn in, like, when it comes to riding, even horses, bulls, whatever, even if you are an athlete. So you're talking about like those football players, baseball players that came over, and they were strong, they were athletic, but the fact of riding anything was so foreign, and their natural reaction, and I know this because I came from the same kind of background. At first, my natural reaction was, I'm going to muscle these things as hard as I can because I'm so strong. And it takes a long time, and a lot of getting yanked down to figure out that's not going to work. There's a balance between pressure and using their momentum to help you. It's a dance, right? And it's something that only way you can learn that is being in a controlled setting, learning how to actually ride an animal, and riding a broke horse is number one way to do that. And we've talked about this multiple times on the show. For people not ever been around rodeo and you want to be a cowboy, go to square one. Like, I know it's the sexy thing to go to a bull school and try and get on bulls and you've never done it before, but go learn how to ride a horse and learn how the animal moves, learn how to be around the livestock, learn how to read them. Like, your experience is going to be exponentially different if you take the appropriate steps to start.
The mechanics are the easiest thing to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like that, the mechanics, we talk about that all the time, is that you give me somebody in 6 months, never seeing a spur board before, they can ride the spur board flawlessly. You know what I'm saying? Like, the mechanics, learning correct mechanics are the easy part, but the instinct that Joe's talking about and that athleticism is what's missing from the generation coming up, you know, and
I call it like the feel. Like feel, or, you know, like there's the science, which is the mechanics, and the art. The art is the feel, and that has to be, you develop that through experience and like I call it riding time. You know, I asked a kid the other day, and then of course this kid told me he had been riding bulls since he was 8 months old, whatever. But you know, he's been getting on bulls, okay? And so we added it up. We assumed he had been on 100 head a year since he was 8 months old. And I said, let's just say you made the whistle every time, you know, and we added that up. Like, well, okay, you've only got a couple hours of riding time. You're 15. You've only got a couple hours of riding time. Well, he was here for a private session, and he had been on that horse for a half an hour bareback. And I'm like, you've literally like added 20% more riding time to your life in the last 30
Just right
minutes.
there.
And this kid had horses available that he could be riding and just wasn't using that because he didn't realize it. And so it's like, how much riding time do you have? And I know a lot of people don't have, have that. And that's something that, so I went to a deal with the PBR teams coaches last fall, and
Saw that you went to
and
that.
these guys, for the most part, are from the old school of like, they learned how to ride bulls before they ever got on bulls. The majority of those guys, and they don't understand a drop barrel. And I get that. Like, I think a drop barrel can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Like, you can use it as a tool, or it can be the like, it can ruin you. But we have to find ways to use that, because not everybody has access to a horse. Like, especially with the way, rodeo is growing and bull riding, we've got to figure out how to use these as tools so that these guys can actually get something out of it. Because if they don't have that, they're maybe going to be able to find some horse riding lessons or something, but it's not accessible on a daily basis for them. So, and that's why, I'd never been on a drop barrel until after I made my first NFR. Never even had got on one until after 2014, after I finished second at the NFR. Well, I bought one down there. I bought a Buckrite, and Ian dropped it off here on his way back to Canada after the finals. And I got on that thing, and I never had any instruction on how to ride it. I just got on it and went to riding it, and after about 2-3 weeks, and I'm riding this thing every day. And I go to Denver and Fort Worth and Odessa and everything. And after about a month, like, I'm the whole month, I'm out of time. Like, I'm still riding a fair percentage of my bulls, but like, I'm struggling with them. And I had no idea, and my dad's like, when you get home, I got to come watch you ride that damn bucking machine, because you're doing something wrong. Well, I was just riding it like more. I was going too far forward, and then I was having to sit up too much, and I was basically out of time with, that barrel is like an animal that hits the ground in the same spot every time, never moves forward. And so by overdoing everything, well, now I kind of call it like your algorithm. When you get it right on whatever the jump is, your muscle memory can find that balance regardless of how much forward movement there is, or whether they're backing up or whatever. You can find it on every jump if it's right on the jump you're riding and that you're training for. And I had no idea. Like, I was just getting on there and ramrodding it. And so honestly, I never rode it again the rest of my career. I'm like, well, if I'm one of the best bull riders in the world, and if I can screw this up, like, I ain't gonna mess with this. So I just went back to riding my horse. I never rode it again. Well, I've had to use it at my schools, and I see things, and I feel bad that I probably didn't know how to even teach kids exactly the first few years I was doing schools. But as we've dove into it and found out more, like, and this is where the online school comes into effect, like, okay, you can literally go on there and watch a video, and there's a checklist of several things that you have to make sure you're doing, and finding that every jump, and you can video yourself and watch it and see, okay, I'm letting my feet slide back. Why? And then you can correct yourself, and then not create bad habits, cut them off at the pass, and use it as a tool.
Y'all, if you're having trouble sleeping or you've got really achy muscles, Power Pro CBD has teamed up with us to bring you their tinctures and their warming lotions. Guys, these have been a crucial part of my nightly routine. The tincture, take 2 full drops underneath the tongue right before bed, and my HRV and recovery scores have never been higher. And not to mention the warming cream, y'all. I swear by this stuff. It works immediately. 10 plus years of rodeo experience and working out for another 10 plus years pretty intensely. I come across some aches and pains. And so that warming lotion is my go-to to get rid of those and to get rid of it quickly. Y'all can check them out at PowerPro, PWRpro.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, to save you a good chunk at discount. You can fuel your body with some of the highest quality protein from Colorado craft beef. Look, the cattle, they're raised well, they're raised with care, crafted with passion, and again, packed with protein. It's the perfect choice for athletes like us. So go check them out, coloradocraftbeef.com. You can order your premium cups there, and they also have incredible beef sticks, on-the-go options that you can take with you, packed with protein, and the best source you can get. Again, check them out at coloradocraftbeef.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word. Going to save you some money on that next beef order. Absolutely. When we talk about those as spur board, bucking machine, same exact thing. We go, do our optimal performance academies, and Josh got to come see one of those as well in Australia with us. And, they use a drop barrel there, and we were using, again, the Spur Magics, all of that. And what we see is, you talked about ramrod, and like you get on and you're just go, 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 because you're trying to recreate possibly this intensity. You think that you're trying to recreate what happens in the arena. And at the end of the day, you just end up creating really, really bad habits. And when we get to the live action, it's a shit show. And you're like left wondering, I just put all this time and work in, and I just got 2 jumped. What is going on? There's something is not happening. Well, I guess let's go back and do it again. Next week, go harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, exactly. So that's our natural tendency, I think, as rough stock riders or even rodeo athletes. We're usually all in kind of people. Just it's a natural part of the sport. So hearing the perfect reps is so important.
You talk like, so, and this is something that like I understand better now, but they always tell you, like, especially in the time event, slow is fast. Like, do it right and it'll be fast. Well, okay, like at these bull riding schools, I'll tell somebody, okay, like, show me your air bull stuff. And they get on that air bull and just go to whipping and ripping. And I'm like, whoa, hold on just a second. Like, you didn't make one single good move. You don't have no idea where the bull even is. But so, like, muscle memory, the cool thing about muscle memory and your subconscious mind is speed doesn't matter. Like, it's just like you can have a dream and it feel like it's like a year-long scenario, Well, you can wake up and like it feels real. Well, it was probably only like 3 seconds. That's how fast our subconscious mind can operate. And your muscle memory is part of that. And it's like for me, like, I'm an auctioneer. Well, when I learned how to auctioneer, I didn't practice by blah, 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 doing that. I practiced by saying, would you give me $1? Now 2, would you bid 2? And you say it as clear and concise, and you do it over and over and over again until it's, would you give him 5, 5, 10 there now? Like it goes, you can do it as fast as needed if you've done it correct. And
yeah, that is
so that's
I think in the learning stages, speed amplifies error, and then it just further digs a hole.
Well, and you take all of that, and then we go based on what we know of the central nervous system and the fact that it takes 300 to 500 repetitions to build a movement pattern. And so 300 to 500 repetitions on the drop barrel or on the stationary barrel or on a live horse or on the spur board. But then if you've learned a bad habit by going fast and doing things, we know that it takes 3,000 to 5,000 repetitions to correct a bad movement pattern. So you think about all those guys that are like, man, they're just like you guys are saying. We just hop on the barrel and we go, 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 or we ride the air bull 1,000 miles an hour. And we've built these faulty movement patterns because we're trying to be 90 every time. Now you have 10x'd the amount of work that it is going to take for you to fix that by doing that. And that's why getting with somebody like Joe or going to a good school and getting those fundamentals right off the bat. How many times do we see guys Tim O'Connell start riding bareback horses at 18, 19, get the correct fundamentals from the very right at the beginning, and 4 years later is at his NFR.
I can name
Cade
5 of them
Saunier.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
there's
I
a
mean,
lot of them now.
there's a
Yeah.
bunch of those, but they got the correct fundamentals and they didn't go fast when they learned.
And they
They go
never had
nice and
and they
slow.
never had bad habits to start with.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Yep.
I experience that all the time. Like, so my private trainings, I do, like, it's a maximum of 5 students. And so, you know, sometimes it's just one, depends on it's custom scheduling. Okay. So for example, I had 2 guys come together, and one of them had been riding for about 2 years, has a drop barrel, you know, he's done, he has some habits. The other one has been on like 26 bulls. He doesn't even know what he doesn't know.
Mhm.
Well, they came for 2 days, and the first day, the kid that was new, he was struggling. Like, he had no idea what he's doing. The other kid had, you know, he had, like you talk about, a pattern. He had muscle patterns, and like he had, but they weren't good.
Mhm.
By the end of the second day, the beginner kid that had virtually no experience actually looked pretty good. He was starting to develop some muscle patterns. Now, he was sore as hell, so he couldn't do but more than 1 or 2 good reps, but he could do it, where the other kid now is completely confused and having to think and force himself to do something different. And it
It's hard.
yeah, it's really hard. Like, that kid, like you say, like, I didn't have the numbers to give him, but like you say, okay, now instead of 300 times, it's going to be 3,000 times you're going to have to do this.
Mhm.
And I'm telling him it's a shit ton, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
same thing.
equals out.
That's,
It
that's,
equals
that's
out.
pretty much what it is. That's pretty much what it is, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is, man. It's so important. And when you start thinking about the practice, and that one bad rep is taking away from those positive reps you need to build the good habit, they got to reverse the mindset of the quantity of reps towards the quality of rep. And when I rode bucking horses for a long time, I had a career-ending injury. I sat out for 7 years, had a spine fusion, like big surgery, and just thought about everything I would have done differently. And I eventually, man, did a bunch of competitive CrossFit. I proved my body was probably going to hold up if I got on another bucking horse, and I wasn't ready to leave it. So I was like, I got to get on one more. But I took 4 months, and I went and did everything that I wish I would have done. And it started with the spur board. And my biggest weakness, I miss horses out all the time. It was the wildest thing. I could miss one out and put a 24 spur ride, maybe not 24, but I could put a damn good spur ride on them and be no points. And I'm like, well, that's number one. I got to fix that. I literally got on the spur board for a week and a half every single day. And it was only 2 or 3 times a day. And honestly, the first week, I was so sore from it, from not doing it, that it wouldn't have helped me to keep pushing, right? So I did isometric holds on a mark out. And I got really strong at just being in that position, feeling my hips be on the drive to my rigging and hold and keep my shoulder back. And once I could master that position, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for spur stroke number 1. And it was the slowest, just dragging it out, but I was programming the correct way to do it. And I did that and built my ride up over 2 months until I could spur that spur board for 20 seconds, lifting it up off the ground. And then I moved on to a bucking machine after I had the fundamentals. I didn't get on a bucking machine until I could do that on the spur board, because I figured that if I can make bad habits on a spur board, I could damn for sure do it on a bucking machine. And so when I moved to that, again, started really slow, lowest level, just feeling everything. And then by the end, I was at level 4, and it was a test, but turned the page. 4 months of that, got to go get on Jesse's girl, Estasis. I'm sure you've seen that horse before. Like, one of the coolest horses that's been, and best ride I've ever made in my entire life, hands down, like without a doubt. And it was all because of the prep that went into that and the change. But I probably did 3,000 reps reversing that in those 4 months, just every day hitting it. And it was a cool feeling to see it all work. But like, when you're young, that's the last thing you're thinking about. We're always thinking, go harder, do more, who's going to carry the boats, like, I gotta go, right? And it's just a different mindset with rodeo. It can still be the go hard and be tough and carry the boats, but you got to be tough and just doing everything perfectly and being disciplined to do the practice perfect. And that's what you talk about your younger life, wrestling, ranch work. You guys had discipline ingrained in you at an early age. You were that was in you from the beginning, and you were doing physical work doing other sports, riding horses, it makes sense that it all, bull riding and all these things came naturally after all that work towards it. Now, all these other people that, are getting into rodeo that don't have access to horses. And I would say, like, back in the beginning, right, where all these guys were hands, man, the normal way of life was ranching. It wasn't this urban way of life, right? So the demographics have changed so much. And I was looking at the annual report from the PRCA, and this was a couple years old. It was 2022. So next year's, or 23, comes out in May. But I'll be interested to see how it changed. But I was looking at the demographics of the viewership, and the ages from 18 to 25 is only 6% of our viewers in professional rodeo. From 25 to 34, I think it was only 9%. Then you get into that 35 to 55, it's like 60% of our viewing. And then above that, the 50 and 70 and 80, that's the other 30 and 40%. So we're missing a huge demographic in this early group, which is the future of our sport. And so this is why I kind of want to jump into what you guys are doing with your Frost Legacy Bull Riding School. This is what is things like this are what is helping the sport grow, because, like I said, not everyone's a rancher. Not everyone has access to even a broke horse to go ride. But they want to be in rodeo. They want to be bull riders. They want to be ropers, like whatever it is. There has to be places for them to go and get quality information and guidance to be set up on the road to potentially be successful if this is what they want to do, and not just go figure it out, because we aren't wired that way anymore in today's world for the most part. Like, you see a hard change in, like, our generation, the next one after that, dude, kids don't get on 6 bucking horses a day at a school. It's a hard time getting them on 2. And I remember going to schools, and me and Richie would be like, I will get on till I die if that's what it takes to learn, and we leave a 2-day school and been on 17 head of horses, totally wrecked, but we got the reps in. I have a hard time pushing guys to get on 2 or 3 because they just don't want to go through that. And at the end of the day, you kind of can't blame them because it is hard, it is rough and it is scary. But if you can get them those proper fundamentals in a place they can learn correctly, we take a lot of that fear and a lot of those potential, things that can go really wrong in the beginning out of it. And that's huge for growing the sport, I think. So what fueled you guys to start this? Did you guys see the void to be filled, or?
Yes. So, we kind of talked about us as kids, bull talk. Lane had bull talk. Donnie Gay had a winning edge deal out, and I think Gary LeFew had like a video that I had seen I rented it from the library when I was like a sophomore in high school. But
was it on VHS?
Yes, VHS.
Yes, love it.
And, I don't know. There may be Cody Custer has a winning edge.
Yep.
There are a few informational things out there, but like you can, any other sport, you can Google how to swing a golf club.
There's tons of resources. Yeah, a million resources. Yeah,
just and free stuff, and quality. Like, I could learn how to do. How much stuff I learned how to do on YouTube.
Dude, I rebuilt my garage on YouTube.
Yeah, it's crazy with information at our fingertips. Okay, well, Google how to ride a bull. They're like, good luck actually getting quality information. Okay. And I think there's a few decent videos out there, but there's not the whole picture. Okay. Because there's so much that goes into it. It really is a lifestyle. There's so many aspects to it to develop. Feel like I can go golf and like I'm not risking my life by sucking.
Right.
I'm not even gonna hurt myself unless I hit myself with the club, but like that would be really bad. And I can only hit myself so hard. But okay, so bull riding is, you're literally, if you're great at it, every time you nod your head, you're risking your life. And it's extremely dangerous. Okay. So from Josh's perspective, we actually kind of started doing this separately, and we didn't know. I had the idea and wanted to do this because I'm putting on these bull riding schools. Okay. So I get these kids that come for 2 or 3 days. Well, okay, I don't see you again till next year for 2 or 3 days. And you only retained maybe 10% of the information, and that would be great if you did that. And you took that 10% of the information, and half of it was warped because you didn't understand it fully, and your dad understood it a little different than you did, and neither of you actually got it right. So now you and I'm maybe being generous, but 5% of the information you retained, okay, in a 2 to 3 day school. And now I don't help you again for another year or another 6 to 8 months. And now you've done what we just talked about. You developed bad habits. So now we have to not only, I'd like to be able to teach you new stuff that you should be ready for now, but we're actually just going to correct the stuff that you didn't get right from the first school you came to. So my thoughts was like, okay, what if you come to my school and I teach you all this stuff and you retain what you can and you get the experience and you get some good repetitions in. Well, okay, you go home the next day, and if you bought the online school too, now you have all of the information that you got while you were there, plus the information that you're going to be ready for a month from now, and 6 months from now, and a year from now. And okay, now you've leveled up and you're in high school and you're getting on Ranker Bulls, and this didn't make sense to you then and it didn't really apply, but now this does. And you've got all of that. Okay. Now it still makes sense to come back to my school a year later, because now I can help you understand things better and you can get on the right stock for where you're at that point, and we can help to further you, but we keep you right on the right track for the whole year. And that was my theory. And Josh had actually done, Tyson Durfee has a No Limits calf roping deal, and he had done that and loved it. And he's like, I want to do this for bull riding. You know, we hadn't really talked about it, and it just came up in conversation. And we're like, well, why are we going to literally do 2 separate deals and then compete? I'm going to compete against you. Like, I'm going to tell you, tell kids your school sucks, buy mine. And he's like, yeah, me too. So anyway, so we got together on it, and we built the deal together. And you know, there's actually there is some other information out there too, but like, we went through the process. I mean, this took us almost a year to build. And because, okay, we thought, Tyson's like, yeah, have you a lady come and video your school, and then boom, you have all the information. Well, okay, we did that, and now we're going through it, and it's like, okay, this is kind of good, but we really needed our camera lady to just be rude and get in front of all the kids and make it specifically for the guy watching this online, so it's perfectly, he can see it and everything. So anyway, we basically had to reshoot the whole deal in segments and make it to where it was the quality we wanted, to where it's like me literally talking to you on that online school and showing you exactly what you need to know, so there's no confusion. And the other thing that's really cool about it is, okay, there's like 94 videos on there right now that are between 3 and 5 minutes long. And we've got a list of like 20 that we're in the process of shooting right now that we can add to it. Like, it's only been 6 months since most of it was shot, but I've done a lot of teaching since then. And every time I'm teaching, I'm learning. It's not like it's like new information, but a better way to show it, a better way to do it, a new drill that will help you. And you buy the online school today, well, over the next 2 years, every video that we update or add, it's already included. Like, it's not like we have to shoot a whole new DVD. We just make modifications to it, so you're always getting the newest and best information that we have available. So
That's awesome.
that's kind of the basis on it. But I don't know, we're really excited about it. It's something, what I'm trying to build is something that I wished I had when I was 12 years old, or 15, or at any point in my career. Like, this isn't just for beginners. It's not just for advanced guys. It can take you anywhere you're at. You can buy it, use it, and it will benefit you. We've got 100% money back guarantee. If you don't like it, if you watch the videos and you think it's shit, we will give you your money back. Because I know it's not. Nobody's wanted to do that yet, but it and if you do think it's junk, tell us why, and we'll figure out how to make it better. But it's
So people listening, like, if you are interested in the school, you literally have nothing to lose, because Joe hasn't told us the price yet, but I would imagine that by watching those videos and applying them, you're probably going to win that money back very, very fast.
If you're it's $197, Paul.
Dude, I was gonna say that's insane. That's so true.
Yeah. You could literally make that back tomorrow if you
You
start
ride
applying
one
that
more
stuff.
bull in
entry fee.
competition than you would have ridden without it. One
Mhm.
bull,
Hmm.
you're gonna double your money.
Yep.
Mhm.
If you ride two, you quadruple it. You know, like
Mm.
it's you know what, it's an investment, and you're investing in yourself. And we've talked to probably 600 guys about it, and only at this point, only about 60 of them have purchased it. But the thing that, in my mind, okay, a lot of these guys are entering rodeos. And of
Mhm.
course, they're sending me their videos,
Mhm.
and they're getting bucked off at all their
I
rodeos.
was
Like
just
they're
gonna say that.
maybe not even warming them up. Okay, they have no business entering the rodeo.
Mhm.
Save your freaking entry fees.
Mhm.
Buy this for 2 weeks. Okay, just skip 2 rodeos that you'd have just been giving your money to somebody else anyway. Like it's just like throwing it in the trash and getting another bad repetition. Save your money for a month from entering your rodeos.
Mhm.
Buy the online school. Take a month. Do the training. Now go to a practice pen and apply it, and you're going to be ahead.
Yeah.
You're
Mm.
going to be further ahead as opposed to just throwing your money away.
Yeah.
My dad would never let us. Like the whole idea was, when you entered, you should be at a point where you expect to win,
Hmm.
or at least have a very good chance to win. You know,
Mhm.
like he wouldn't haul us to the rodeo if we hadn't put our time in practicing,
Mhm.
and he didn't feel like we were ready to go. Like,
Yep.
why would you go? You're literally gambling, but you have an opportunity to learn how to count cards and not ever get in trouble for it.
Hmm.
So stay home, learn to count cards, and then go gamble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, get your stuff together and then go. And it's competing. There's nothing in rodeo that you get for participating. They don't even give out
No.
participation ribbon. It's literally, you put your money in and you're betting on yourself.
Mhm.
So like, how confident are you? At least more than 51% confident that you're going to get it back. Like if
Yeah.
you're not, if
That's
you're
not
not
said
that
enough.
confident, at least, then
Yeah.
why would you put your entry fees in the pot? Why don't you take that money and invest in something that could actually help you
That
get to the
culture
point?
hasn't. Yeah. That
Yeah,
culture hasn't been set yet.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the problem is that there is a participation trophy, and it's the fact that they get attention. You know what I'm saying? Like I
I was
put my
just gonna
chaps on and I get to walk around for an hour before, and I get attention from people, and they think that I'm a bull rider. But that's exactly. I love that you just brought up that point of staying at home, because my thought when you told me the prices, I'm like, that's probably one rodeo in which an entry fee, fuel, dinner, whatever, one
Mhm.
rodeo, and so many people are going to bring up the point. I can think of a lot of guys that I run into on a basis around here that are like, well, I just can't afford it. You can't, but yet you're entered
But
every
you're entered
weekend.
this
You
weekend. Yeah.
never make it past the end of the gate, and you've got old worn out junk equipment, and but like, man,
You
this is
can't afford not to, if that's you. And I know some
Yeah.
people listening, like you fall into this category and you're probably feeling like your toes are getting stepped on, but you can't afford not to.
I was
Like
gonna
if you're
say
hearing this and you're resonating,
you need to
like
do this.
you have to do this.
And the
An
bottom
analogy, Paul, you know, that you can't afford not to. I've got a neighbor that we both have a 25-acre hayfield. Same soil. I put however much fertilizer on that field I need to every year. I don't care if it costs $7,000-8,000. He asks, I don't know how you can afford that. Well, when we're putting up hay, we're putting up 1,200-pound bales. I put up 4 for every one he does.
Mhm.
I don't understand how you can afford not to fertilize it.
Mhm.
The same thing with this. Like, you know, Josh works with Paige with the
Mindset.
mental coaching.
Mhm.
And you know, he spends a good bit of money every
Yeah.
year on it. But it's an investment, and like Josh is like, he's like, I've told some of my friends about it, and you know, I'm like, oh, how did it go? I think she has like a 6-month minimum. And they're like, oh, it's good. I learned a lot of stuff. And he's like, oh, are you still working with her? Well, no, like it's kind of expensive. And Josh is like, well, are you as good as you want to be? Josh is like, I went from a 50th place in the world guy to a top 3 guy every year.
Mhm.
I cannot afford not to have that available. And I can tell you, if I was to go back to riding today, the first thing I would do would be to hire you guys as a personal trainer, and to hire that mental coach. because those were things that, I think they were probably available when I was riding, but it wasn't, I guess, maybe common knowledge like it is now. I don't know when you guys really took off, but it wasn't in 2019. Like, I didn't know about it. Now, I wasn't actively seeking it, but I also didn't know it was available. And it would be the first thing that I would do, but months before I ever even went to get on.
Absolutely. And, all these things, the investment part is so huge. And I think people have a hard time wrapping their mind around the actual investment. And you hear guys say, I can't afford that, yet they're rodeoing every weekend. Dude, you can't afford to rodeo either if you're just following off. That's something in your own, it's a delusion in your own head that you can afford to do this. And I'd like to say, ask the question to anyone listening, if you're a bull ride rodeo athlete, how many times are you going to that rodeo with the confidence that you are 51% sure you're going to win? Because I bet it's not many of you. I bet many of you are just showing up hoping that it goes well. And the fact of your gambling.
Your bull's got a bellyache.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Maybe he's hurt and I don't have to get on him. It's a mindset change. And that investment is the problem, Logan, is the attention that people get from it.
On the low level, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But it does create that little bit of culture where guys think they can get away with that. And it does water down the part that guys are really working hard and doing the right things. It makes it hard to see what's the right thing to do. When you've got Joe Blow doing this over here, and then one guy's kind of riding well, but doesn't do anything on the side there. And then, it makes it hard. Because what Joe said, there's no resources. You can go on YouTube, whatever, baseball, golf, whatever sport you want. And there's a million ways you can go learn and see it done. You type in bull riding, bareback, rodeo, you type in rodeo and crickets, right? But what him and Josh have started
article comes up.
Yeah.
You can look up, you can get the Wikipedia version of grasp the bull with your legs, grip with your hand, and try to hold on with the movement. That's kind of
it.
That's about what you get. Yeah.
Make sure the rope is tied around their balls. That's always on there too, so.
I've said that same thing. I've said that same thing about resources available, right? And that one of the most common things, one of the videos that I've made, how to make a spurboard video, and I just put it on YouTube because there's so many kids that there are no resources for these young guys growing up. And just like you, every time you do a school, you can think of probably the 3 most prevalent bad habits everybody has when they show up. Well, if there was content available for these guys to fix those bad habits at home, how much further along would they be?
Exactly.
And so here's an opportunity for way more than just those top 3 bad habits. For every situation, an opportunity for you to fix those things before you ever go see Joe or go to another school in person. Those things could be fixed. You're talking about time collapsing your journey to success here. Instead of it taking you a year to get those reps in and to learn that, you're talking about getting it in 6 months, in 3 months, because of the resources available to you. And when your career is, chances are, going to be done by the time you're 31, 32, 33, and you're 22 right now, you don't have time to waste, buddy. You do not have reps in the tank to waste. Every ride matters. And so, man, I'm telling you, $200. My boy is 5. He loves riding sheep, and all we watch is rodeo. I'm pay the money just so we can put it on the TV and he can watch video. He would love it. You know what I'm saying? Man, just having that resource is huge for these guys.
Is it a one-time payment, Josh? Or Joe? Sorry, is it a one-time
payment? You pay it one time, and you
Dude,
have it for life.
Yeah, are you kidding? What?
If it was $200 a month,
break that down. You're gonna live for a lot more years. It's like you're getting into pennies on the year at this point. What?
If you can hand your passcode off to your grandson, and he can keep using it when you die.
Boom. Yeah, you can only hear that here on this podcast. So make sure you tell everyone to listen and look to you. Oh, that's awesome. No, it's huge, man. Having these resources is huge for the sport. It's huge for the next generation, man. And I can't tell you how many guys that we have, hit us up. Can you teach me how to ride bulls? And I personally cannot. And I'm the first one to tell them that. But I'm like, you know what you need to go do And I asked them their experience. Have you ever been on bulls? Well, most of these guys haven't. They don't even. Some of these guys are living in the city and never been to a rodeo, but they saw PBR once. They're like, I want to ride bulls. Find our thing on Instagram. They're like, oh, these guys know rodeo. They got to know bull riding, and that's a normal thing to think too. But you wouldn't know that there's different specialists for each thing that we do in the sport, right? So we turn them to you guys because this is a no-brainer for anyone out there. And like you said, whatever level you're at, the word rodeo school has gotten such a bad rap about being the place where you only go to begin. You only go to learn.
Yeah.
There is no development, right? And that's what we're trying to change with our OPA. We called it an academy just because we wanted to get school out of it. Like they think it's beginners. Dude, look at any other sport, any other professional sport. There are so many levels of development camps that you have to go to, combines, things like that. Like, you are learning
Even
constantly.
at the
Just
pro level.
Yeah, you're not. Once you're
NFL,
a pro, you're still not done.
No.
Yeah.
These guys are constantly look at Tom Brady. The guy worked harder and smarter each year he was in the pros, and he got better and better. I just saw an interview with him like a week ago, and he's sitting there in his 40s. He's like, I could go back, no problem. I could definitely go play again. Like, that's crazy to think about. And that's what our goal with this whole thing was when it comes to rodeo athletes, being able to not have to walk away because you're so injured and crippled, or because you didn't take the right steps to prepare and get the foundation, and someone who's could have been super talented and had a great career it pissed it away because they didn't do the initial things to be good. And those things are not sexy. And that's where we run into this whole thing is everyone wants to go ride the bull or ride the buck and horse to be 90. Dude, it takes all the hours we just talked about. How many, you told them to talk about riding that horse around bareback for 30 minutes and the riding hours you have. Dude, I bet there are a handful of guys listening to this that go to rodeos and they're off in less than a second or two. It takes 30 rides to even get to a minute there. Like, we're just inching along. And so if you can build those reps and do these things that aren't sexy, they are going to take you so much further, and not just the sport, but life. It's unreal. It's a mindset change, and that discipline is number one where it starts. Is I don't give a shit what everyone else is thinking. I'm going to go do this. And we had Casey on here not long ago, fellow Utah guy. I feel like all you guys are just bred to be badasses down there.
I've actually been working with these nephews quite a bit,
dude,
I totally get it.
He's talking about guys, they'd be in the gym at 6:30, but no one would be on a horse bareback riding him around the arena at 6:30 a.m. And that's what he did. He'd be out there leading that horse around, getting his reps in, and he was doing the thing, ultra sport specific, and then he'd go work out, but it was just the mindset change.
No, it is a huge mindset shift, but I mean, the Frost Legacy is making it easier than ever. Yeah, there is no excuse. There's no like, well, I can't afford to fly to California and go to LeFew's house and spend $500 or whatever it is, or I can't go to Utah. Like, there's no excuse now. You can come up with a 15-year-old can come up with $200 working a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can come up with $197 and you can better yourself today. Like,
we're in your pocket, on your phone 24/7. Like, you have 24/7 access, and you get it instantly after purchasing it.
Yeah,
dude. I'll tell you what, if you're a kid in Montana right now and you need $197, come to my house for a weekend and I'll put your ass to work and I'll get you that bull riding school. Guaranteed.
Yeah,
Hit me
there
up.
you go.
That's a promise. But like, there's so many ways. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I remember being in high school, being in college, I would broke colts in high school, which is what actually made me get interested in riding bucking horses. But I kind of had a little bit of background in colts buck a little bit, and that's what's fun. We're like, hey, let's go try the rodeo. And we didn't do it the right way. I wish we would have gone to school at first, but we had that little foundation behind us, at least getting on regular horses and riding them. Start now. The school is yes, where you go to learn, but if you have these opportunities to learn before you go to the school, you're going to get so much more out of it. Like getting those foundations. Like if me and Logan at these horse riding schools didn't have to say, keep your shoulder back, knees come up, and tuck your chin 1,000 times, we could have taught so much more beyond that, right? Yeah. Like those things are already hammered in, and we're good.
School and not feel like they only taught you the dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He wouldn't give me any better information. Well, because guess what? It wouldn't have helped you. Because you
weren't
doing the original stuff. Like, if you don't even know if your shoulders and hips are square, what does it matter does anything else matter?
Yep.
If you have no control over just your body and where it's at, nothing else is going to really help you.
No. And it's hard to see when you're young.
Yeah. What kind of prompted this whole interview with Joe anyway was that social media post I made a few weeks ago. And like one of the recurring themes was like, how do I get started? There was maybe, between 5 and 10 people comment on there, like, how do I get started? So Joe, like with all the experience and all the knowledge that you have now, if you had to go back, what is the advice that you would give to somebody? How do I get started?
I like say it wasn't available when I got started, but right now, like Josh and I have literally built something that is exactly what you need when you get started. I mean, it will take you from Tom walking off the street clear to the NFR. Like that's the way we built it. Literally what equipment to get. There's even some physical strengthening stuff in there, like just some simple things you can do to help your body be stronger to do these things. It's filled with, like I said, there's 94 videos on there that are filled with drills and information. It's everything you would get if you come to a school. And it's just going to give you, some of this stuff took us years. We started riding when we were 8, and a lot of it I didn't even know or understand until I was 2 or 3 years into the NFR. and then I developed some of it or learned it. And if I would have had that one, I've got kids right now that are in high school, sophomores in high school, that can leave the chute better than I ever did, not one time in my whole career. And I was a top caliber bull rider. This information, I done the deal with Sage Kimsey on his legendary lessons. And hell, I always thought he left the chute weird, just thought he was really good, but after actually going through this deal with him, I learned some stuff that, boy, if I could have done that, hell, I told him I would have won twice as much in my career. Now I couldn't have ridden twice as many bulls because I rode over half of them, but I would have ridden enough more to win at least twice as much. And now with the information that I got from there and with everything else that I've learned, been able to give it to these kids, and they're literally leaving the chute better as a sophomore in high school than I ever did once in my entire career. And that's the deal. We're going to shorten the learning curve for you exponentially.
It's huge. It's huge. And that in this sport is, there's not dollars that can make up for that experience that you can take off time for that, because every rep is life or death when it comes down to the real deal. And we don't have the opportunity to, sorry for the lack of words, but you don't have the opportunity to fuck around here. You need to be serious. You need to do it right, get the fundamentals built. And there are options. There are resources now. Like where can we find the school, buddy? What's your guys' website?
So you can find it on our Instagram and Facebook profiles. The link is on there, or just go to my Instagram and message me, and I'll send it directly to you. It's pretty accessible.
Cool. It's definitely worth it. And on the workout side too, we have a workout app available for guys that maybe you're not ready to make the investment in individualized coaching, because like we said with anything, the mindset coach, all of it is an investment, but we have levels for you to invest in yourself, even if you're not at the spot where you can do individualized coaching. So we have a plan. Bull Riding 101 is up on the app. It's called the Champion Living Fitness app. It's $19.99 a month. It's an 8-week program, full demo videos, workouts specific for bull riding. It will help you strengthen all of the areas that you need to be strong when you start doing all the drills that are on this clinic, this bull riding school online for the Frost Legacy bull riding schools. So these two things, they all go hand in hand, y'all. You don't do one thing and then not the others and expect the results to come. We have to have all the pieces of the puzzle. And we've said that a million times on this show, but you don't have a piece, the puzzle doesn't look great. You have that one missing piece, you put that work in, the puzzle looks beautiful. It's the same thing in your bull riding, bareback riding, rodeo, honestly, life in general. Make sure you're putting effort into everything. And I forgot when you said it. You're talking about your hay, you and your neighbor's hay. And when I think about the investment, like the grass is greener where you water it, where you put that time in, where you give it that fertilizer, you give it the water it needs, and you sow the rewards of it. And where you could just do the bare minimum and you still get some hay, but it isn't what it could be. right? You didn't reach your full potential. So I think that's a totally relatable thing. Just all around the board, man. Check him out. Make sure you
There's
guys
never.
check out Josh.
Sorry, go ahead.
Why do I keep calling him Josh? J and J messes me up. I don't know how your mom gets you guys probably right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I have kids that I help. That I always thought that it was just because our parents named us with the J's, but it don't matter if your name is Bronx and Mav and Daxton. You get mixed up. You get to,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. What do you got, Logan?
Yeah, no, there's never been a better time to be a rodeo cowboy.
Dude,
Like, I
amen.
firmly believe, and this is, you guys are turning a chapter in professional rodeo and developing the next generation. And I think that, you know, Champion Living, we have our own corner on that market and doing something different but similar, in that we just want to see the future of the sport grow. And I am extremely excited for the next 30 years of professional rodeo and the athletes that are going to come out of it because of all the lessons that they're able to learn that we just didn't have access to. So, man, I'm super excited for what you guys are doing for the next generation. I think it's awesome.
No, there's three legs to your you know, to anything, and you got the physical, the mental, and the fundamental sides. And you know, you guys have got the physical, and we got the fundamental, and the mental is available too. And you know, Josh always says he never got good at his bull riding until he started working on all three legs every day.
It's huge. And just to wrap it up, one of our other coaches, Tyler Bunton, he runs all of our background stuff on the show. He put in a message and said he has the app and it's an absolute game changer. So that's really cool. That's firsthand from one of our coaches as well, and someone that I know geeks out on bull riding just as much as all of you guys do. So guys, check it out. Joe, thank you so much for coming on today, brother. This was outstanding, and
thank you guys
to working with you, buddy. Yeah, you bet, man. You bet. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later. As you all know, we are always rocking Hui. Hui has the best gear because it's tough, it's durable, it withstands the test of what we put it through, and that is why I am a big supporter of Hui brands. Guys, from hats, apparel, whatever you need, they've got you covered. They are the perfect blend of rodeo style and athletic performance. You can check them out at huibrands.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, is going to save you a little bit at checkout.